Imagine you're flying over one of the most beautiful oceans on Earth. The sky is perfectly clear. The sea below sparkles under the afternoon sun. Everything seems peaceful. Then suddenly, your compass begins spinning. The radio fills with static. The horizon looks strangely unfamiliar. You try to contact air traffic control. No answer. A few seconds later, you disappear. No distress call, no explosion, no wreckage, nothing. For decades, stories like this have terrified sailors, pilots, and explorers. Some believe an unknown force hides beneath the Atlantic Ocean. Others say it's one of the biggest myths ever created. But one question remains. Why do so many people still fear the Bermuda Triangle? Is it truly one of the most dangerous places on Earth? Or has the truth been buried beneath decades of mystery, legend, and misunderstanding? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, a place where reality and legend have become almost impossible to separate. This is the truth about the Bermuda Triangle. Every year, millions of people travel safely through the waters and skies of the Bermuda Triangle. Luxury cruise ships cross the region. Cargo ships transport billions of dollars worth of goods. Commercial airliners fly overhead every single day. Yet despite all this traffic, the Bermuda Triangle remains one of the most famous, mysterious places on Earth. Mention its name almost anywhere in the world, and people immediately think of disappearing ships, missing airplanes, strange lights, compasses spinning without explanation, and stories that sound more like science fiction than reality. But where did this legend actually begin? Was there ever a single moment that transformed an ordinary part of the Atlantic Ocean into one of the world's greatest mysteries? To answer that question, we need to travel back hundreds of years, long before airplanes, long before radios, long before the name Bermuda Triangle even existed. The Bermuda Triangle is not marked on any official map. There are no warning buoys floating in the ocean, no international borders, no signs telling ships to turn back. In fact, from above, it looks no different from any other part of the Atlantic. The region is generally described as the area between Miami, Florida, Bermuda, and San Juan, Puerto Rico. Together, these 3 points form a vast triangle, covering nearly 500,000 square miles of open ocean. Below the surface lies an underwater world few people ever think about. The sea floor drops dramatically into deep trenches. Powerful ocean currents move like invisible rivers. Weather systems can change with astonishing speed. Warm tropical air collides with cooler northern winds. Storms can appear in what seems like minutes. But none of these natural features explain why this place became so feared. For that, we must go back to the age of exploration. In 1492, an Italian explorer named Christopher Columbus crossed the Atlantic on a voyage that would change history forever. During his journey, Columbus recorded something unusual in his journal. He noticed that his compass did not point exactly where he expected. For sailors of the 15th century, this was deeply unsettling. Navigation depended almost entirely on the compass. If the compass could not be trusted, neither could the sea. Columbus also described mysterious lights in the distance over the water. Some historians believe they were distant fires, meteors, or atmospheric effects. Others see them as the first recorded strange phenomenon connected to the region. The truth is impossible to know. But those journal entries would later become part of the Bermuda Triangle legend. Over the following centuries, sailors shared stories of glowing fog, unusual lights, sudden storms, and ships that seemed to vanish into the horizon without explanation. Most of these stories were never officially documented. Many changed as they were retold from one sailor to another. Each version became more dramatic than the last. As legends spread across ports in Europe and the Americas, the Atlantic slowly gained a reputation as a place where strange things could happen. Yet for hundreds of years, these tales remained just that. Stories. No one imagined they would eventually inspire one of the greatest mysteries in modern history. That changed in the 20th century. Advances in aviation allowed humans to cross the ocean through the sky. Ships became larger, aircraft became faster. Technology made travel safer than ever before. But it also created something new, detailed records. Now when something disappeared, people noticed, and one event in particular would shock the entire world. It involved 5 military aircraft, 14 highly trained men, a routine training mission, and a disappearance that remains famous to this very day. On the afternoon of December 5th, 1945, Flight 19 took off. None of the pilots knew they were about to become part of one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. Flight 19 was never supposed to become legendary. It was simply another navigation training exercise. 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, 14 experienced Navy airmen, a clear mission. Take off from Fort Lauderdale, fly east over the Atlantic, practice bombing exercises, turn north, then return safely to base. The weather that afternoon was considered favorable. The crews had completed similar flights many times before. Nothing suggested that history was about to be written. The aircraft lifted into the sky shortly after 2 o'clock. Everything appeared completely normal. For more than an hour, the mission unfolded exactly as planned. Then, the first signs of trouble appeared. One of the pilots radioed the control tower. His voice sounded uncertain. "We can't see land. We seem to be lost." At first, the instructors on the ground weren't overly concerned. Getting slightly off course during training flights wasn't unusual. They calmly instructed the pilots to turn west. Flying west would eventually bring them back to Florida. But something was wrong. The flight leader disagreed. He believed they were somewhere completely different. Instead of flying east of Florida, he thought they were over the Florida Keys, hundreds of miles away. That single mistake would change everything, because if he was wrong, every correction he made would carry the entire squadron farther into the Atlantic. The radio conversations became increasingly confusing. Pilots disagreed about their location. Some believed they should fly west. Others trusted the flight leader. Minutes passed. Fuel slowly disappeared. Meanwhile, controllers on the ground struggled to understand what was happening. The signals faded in and out. Static interrupted the conversations. Sometimes the voices became almost impossible to hear. Then came one of the most haunting transmissions ever recorded. "It looks like we are entering white water. We're completely lost." Soon after, silence. No more radio calls. No emergency signal. Nothing. 5 military aircraft simply vanished. The U.S. Navy immediately launched one of the largest search operations in its history. Hundreds of aircraft, dozens of ships, thousands of square miles of ocean. Everyone expected to find floating wreckage, an oil slick, life rafts, anything. They found nothing. But the mystery grew even darker. A rescue aircraft was sent to search for Flight 19. It was a Martin Mariner, a massive flying boat carrying 13 crew members. Less than 30 minutes after takeoff, it disappeared too. No survivors, no confirmed wreckage. Now, 27 men had vanished, all connected to the same operation. The newspapers exploded with headlines. How could 6 aircraft disappear in a single afternoon? Was there an unknown force hiding somewhere over the Atlantic? Or was there another explanation? For decades, people searched for answers. Many books claimed Flight 19 entered another dimension. Others blamed magnetic anomalies. Some imagined invisible portals opening in the sky, alien abductions, lost civilizations, even the mythical city of Atlantis. Each theory became more extraordinary than the last. But what do the official records actually reveal? Years later, historians carefully examined every surviving radio transcript, every weather report, every maintenance record, every witness statement. A different picture slowly emerged. The flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor, was an experienced pilot, but he had one important weakness. He had previously become lost during flights, more than once. On December 5th, evidence suggests he genuinely believed he was somewhere he wasn't, if he thought the Bahamas were actually the Florida Keys. His navigation decisions suddenly make sense. Unfortunately, they also led the entire squadron farther from land. Fuel calculations support this idea. The Avengers carried enough fuel for several hours. Eventually, every aircraft would have run out. Landing safely on the open Atlantic wasn't easy, especially after sunset. The ocean that evening became rough. Waves reached several meters high. Even if one aircraft survived the impact, the chances of rescue were incredibly small. The TBM Avenger was also much heavier than most people realize. After ditching, it could sink astonishingly fast, sometimes in less than a minute, leaving almost no floating debris behind. But what about the rescue aircraft? Why did it disappear as well? The answer may be surprisingly ordinary. The Martin Mariner had a dangerous reputation. Many pilots nicknamed it the flying gas tank. Its enormous fuel capacity made it highly flammable. Several previous Mariners had exploded in mid-air after fuel vapor ignited. On the same afternoon, Flight 19 vanished. A nearby merchant ship reported seeing a massive explosion in the sky, followed by burning fuel spreading across the ocean. Many investigators believe that explosion was almost certainly the missing rescue plane. If true, its disappearance had nothing to do with the Bermuda Triangle at all. Instead, it was a tragic accident. Yet even after these explanations, the legend refused to disappear. Because Flight 19 wasn't the only mystery linked to the region. Over the following decades, new disappearances captured public attention. One of the most famous involved a ship called the Marine Sulphur Queen in 1963. The enormous tanker departed Texas carrying molten sulfur. It never reached its destination. Weeks later, only scattered debris was recovered. No crew, no complete wreck. Investigators could never determine exactly what happened. Then came the Witchcraft, a luxury cabin cruiser sailing just 1 mile off the coast of Miami. Its owner called the Coast Guard after striking what he believed was something beneath the surface. He wasn't panicking. The boat wasn't sinking. Help was only minutes away. But when rescuers arrived, the boat had vanished. No passengers, no wreckage, nothing. Stories like these spread around the world. Each disappearance added another layer to the mystery. Books filled entire shelves. Television documentaries repeated the same dramatic questions. Hollywood embraced the legend. Soon, the Bermuda Triangle became a global phenomenon. Millions of people accepted the mystery as fact. But scientists kept asking a different question. Is the Bermuda Triangle actually more dangerous than anywhere else? To answer it, researchers compared accident statistics from around the world. The results surprised many people. The Bermuda Triangle handles enormous amounts of traffic, thousands of commercial ships, countless fishing boats, private yachts, military vessels, and hundreds of flights every single day. When compared to that level of activity, the number of accidents wasn't unusually high. In fact, insurance companies never classified the region as exceptionally dangerous. Neither did the U.S. Coast Guard, nor international maritime organizations. Most incidents could be explained by ordinary causes: human error, mechanical failure, severe weather, powerful currents, navigation mistakes. Each one tragic, but not supernatural. That doesn't mean the ocean here is harmless. Far from it. The Gulf Stream races through the region like a giant river, flowing at speeds reaching several miles per hour. Anything floating on the surface can quickly be carried far away from the accident site. Storms develop with incredible speed. Waterspouts form without warning. Towering waves can overwhelm even experienced crews. Underwater, the seafloor drops into deep trenches, making recovery operations extremely difficult. If an aircraft crashes or a ship sinks, The evidence may disappear beneath thousands of meters of water, long before investigators ever arrive. In other words, nature itself can create mysteries without needing anything paranormal. Still, one question remains. Why do people continue believing the legend? The answer lies not only in the ocean, but in human psychology. Our brains are natural pattern-seeking machines. When events seem connected, we connect them. When stories are mysterious, we remember them. Thousands of ships cross the Atlantic safely every year. Nobody writes headlines about them. One disappearance can be remembered for generations, especially when no clear answers exist. Over time, facts become mixed with rumors. Rumors become legends, and legends begin to feel like history. The Bermuda Triangle became famous not because every story was true, but because every unanswered question inspired another. Today, satellites monitor the skies. GPS guides ships with astonishing accuracy. Weather forecasting is more advanced than ever before, yet despite all our technology, the ocean still reminds us of something important. There are places on Earth that remain incredibly difficult to understand, not because of magic, but because nature itself is powerful, unpredictable, and sometimes merciless. Perhaps the greatest mystery of the Bermuda Triangle isn't why ships disappeared. It's why the story continues to capture our imagination after so many decades. Maybe the legend says less about the Atlantic Ocean and more about us, our curiosity, our fears, and our endless search for answers where certainty does not exist. Because sometimes the truth is more fascinating than the myth, and sometimes the greatest mystery is how legends are born. The Bermuda Triangle may never lose its mystery, but understanding the facts allows us to appreciate something even greater: the incredible power of the natural world and the remarkable stories humans create to explain the unknown. Thanks for watching.